So containment really is the key. The art of containment and what that's about. And containment is holding the fullness of our experience in our awareness without turning it into a story and then going on the hypnosis of the story. Because the story is always self-hypnosis. And then entering the behavior out of that story, that's called revolutionary behavior. All revolutionary behavior in the world is, and it's what the word says, revolution. It takes you back to the point where you started. So revolutionary will gain power using the same means that they perceive overpowering them. And by using the same means, they become that which they overpower. And they become the next dictator and create a whole new family of revolutionaries who will then overpower them and themselves become the dictator. So revolutionary behavior doesn't take us anywhere. And whenever we project our imprint into the world, we are simply being revolutionaries. And what's required is to become an evolutionary. An evolutionary uses a different means to transform their experience than is being perceived happening to them, keeping them in their place. So if you're being kept in your place by weapons, then if you use weapons to liberate yourself, you've not freed yourself at all. You've just become the dictator. There has to be another path of action. So containment. So the first level of the work of what containment is the moment of alchemy. And alchemy is actually doing nothing. So what we really are being asked now is to get to a point of doing nothing. And so we define doing not being active, because we associate doing and activity with the same thing. There is activity that is doing and there is activity that is not doing. And you can discern between the two easiest again by looking at a child. Bless you. A child, for example, who's playing and it's just there, playing, just expressing itself for being alive and it's playing, radiates something that attracts us to it. And we want to be with that child. And we want to hug and kiss that child. Right? And we love to be around that child. There's a radiance that it magnetically attracts us to the child. But the moment that child's activity turns into a means to accomplish something, to try and feel better, to get attention, to manipulate this experience, we're like, take that child away. Don't really want to have much to do with that child. It starts to repel. Right? It's still activity. The one activity is not doing. The other activity is trying to do something. Right? Trying to manipulate something. Manipulate the experience. And manipulation is actually really what it's all about. All suffering comes from manipulation. And the key to manipulation, as we'll see when we look at the intimacy work with the companion later, that when manipulation is what the word says. Man, nipple, nation. Manipulation, right? So, using a male as an example, as a little boy when you're born, as a baby, the first thing that happens is a nipple is thrust in your face. And then there comes a point where it's taken away and hidden away from you forever. And the rest of your life becomes trying to find it again. And so go around manipulating everything to get the nipple back. Right? That's manipulation. Which leads to creating all sorts of circumstances that are self-destructive. That's manifestation. Right? And that behavior is so in our psyche, it's actually got nothing to do with man. It's got to do with all of us. Because it's our behavior, it's the behavior of the mental body towards the emotional body. What we're consistently doing, and this is where doing comes out of. It's not about our activity, it's about the intent. Doing is the intent underlying the activity. And what we're consistently doing is we're manipulating the emotional body. On one level, we're sedating and controlling what's going on in it. And the other level, we're manipulating it to get a feeling that we think we need or want. So it's all about manipulation. And as we manipulate the emotional body, what the emotional body is, this is control, we're controlling it. The emotional body's response or reaction is sedation. It shuts itself down to protect itself. And the moment it shuts itself down, the vibrational can't come through. Because the vibrational radiates through the emotional body, through the mental and into the physical. And the moment the emotional body is shut down, we're not even aware of the heart. Neither are we aware of the vibrational, because we don't have that insight, is no longer available. And so what we do is these experiences, which are already created, we try to make happen. We spend our life making peace, trying to make money. You know, we're here trying to earn a living when we're already alive. Right? Everything that we think, we have to make it happen. Because we can't receive it. We can't receive what's already given. We can't even realize it as in see it with our real eyes. So the work is really about this part, the interaction between this and this, between the mental body and the emotional body. We pretty much reside in the mental body as where we're attached. That's what it means. You're mental, right? We're mental. And that's where we've made our home. And that's what our God is. That's what we worship. That's why we go, if I understand it, I'll heal. That's why we take notes. Because we believe that if I can just get the right note, if I can just understand it, I've got it. That's the mental body. But the thing is, the mental body cannot comprehend this, right? It cannot comprehend the vibrational. Just take a look at the mental body, just how it operates. It's very easy to see. The mental body has to have a beginning and an ending to everything. There's a beginning to the notes you're going to take, and there's an end to the notes. There's a beginning to this presentation, and there's an end to it. There's a beginning to the day, and the end to the day. And anything you look upon, you will quantify it by its beginning and its ending, how much it weighs, how long it lasts, what purpose it has, and put it immediately into a structure that is confined and limited. It always has a beginning and ending. Everything the mental body looks upon. It can only operate if there is a beginning and ending. It can't operate, it has no point of reference otherwise. So the vibrational, which has no beginning and ending, can't be comprehended by it. All it will do, if it's allowed to run the show, is take any of that vibrational aspect of vibrational and put it in a box. You know, you've heard the term thinking outside the box. What if thinking is the box? Right? Catch-22. Hi. Come on in.
Take a seat anywhere.
Anywhere you like. There's one right in the front there for you. So we have to assist the mental body, right? We have to assist it by giving it experiential evidence that it is not God, and that actually there is nothing that it can think about and then initiate into doings. None of that is of use to it. In what it's trying to do is to get what it's looking for. But unless it's shown in a way that's irrefutable evidence, it will not give up its reign, right? It will not give up its reign. So what the work is about entering an experience that will reveal through experientially the evidence that this is the causal point of everything, the provider of everything. The vibrational provides everything that we require. It's not about what we need and want according to our discomforts in the emotional body. By resolving this emotional body condition, we'll automatically enter experiences that will show us that we are given what we require. But it's really about entering an experience of it, because if you think you can come here today or last night and understand what's going on, and that your understanding is now going to be... See, the way the mental body is that I read a book and I understand it, and so I think, now I know it. But understanding and knowing are not the same thing. Only the mental body believes that understanding is knowledge. But understanding is just a well-arranged accumulation of information. It's not knowledge. In order for it to be knowledge, there has to be a trinity. There has to be an emotional, mental, and a physical component to the experience, integrated, for it to be known. For it to be known. If we just take a mental concept and we think that that's knowledge, when you leave here today, you will not know anything more than when you entered here. And when you left here last night, you didn't know anything more. You may have understood a lot of understandings and insights, but the knowing will only come when you allow yourself to enter a direct experience of this work. And all my task is to invite you to have that experience for yourself. And I can't give it to you. No one can give it to you. You can only allow yourself to have the experience. The moment you enter the direct experience and take that experience to be your teaching, game over, right? So it's all about inviting ourselves into an experience. And you don't have to seek the experience out either. The universe is full of grace. You don't have to go to an ashram. You don't have to go to India. You don't have to go to any group. All you have to do is pay attention to your life experience, because the universe is consistently delivering on a silver tray exactly what we require. But we're blind to that while we're driven by our needs and wants, what I need and want to feel better. What the universe is bringing to us is what we require to get better at feeling. Because it's only through the component of feeling that all our questions and seeking will come to completion. We have to feel the evidence of the vibrational, not understand it. It can't be understood, right? So the first level of the work begins in allowing and giving myself the experience of alchemy. The experience of alchemy. Alchemy is, in the traditional term of a physically transfixed being, alchemy is taking base metal and transforming it into gold. That's what alchemy is. And what alchemy truly is taking an experience that is uncomfortable, and through that experience, digesting it, enlivening our state of being. Once we digest that experience, it enlivens our beingness, right? It reveals to us what we are. It turns that base experience becomes gold to us. It's our jewels. That's why we don't want to get rid of our fear, anger, and grief. People that have been doing emotional work for years and saying, I'm getting nowhere, if you ask them what they're up to, what their intent is, I'm trying to get rid of my anger, I'm trying to get rid of my fear, I'm trying to get rid of my grief, trying to get rid of the very nutrition that is there to enliven the state of being. We don't want to get rid of it, we want to digest it. And the digestion comes through containing it. And containment is an art form. Even if you understand what containment is, it requires practice to develop the art form of containment. And it's not about perfection either. One of the mishaps of religions and spiritual paths is that they ask for perfection. They dangle the carrot of perfection. It's not about perfection. because the vibrational is already perfect. Can't go and perfect that. What it's about is full participation. Rather participation than perfection. And where is the point of participation? Right? The point of participation is where I'm able to consciously receive in every moment what I require to enliven my state of being. Because once I enliven my state of being, the peace that I seek, the abundance that I seek, everything that I'm seeking, I will realize. It's already given, but I have to have the capacity to contain it. It's like if I can't contain my temper, but I want to contain what God is. But I can't even contain my temper, right? I can't even contain my irritation. So it begins with containment. So the universe always brings us on a silver platter exactly what we require. And all we have to do is realize that, is to be able to see that. And the place at which it is brought to us is in the upset. The moment of upset. The moment of upset is there's in Christianity, because once you realize the truth in your own experience, you'll see that the truth is always there. It's just not, we can't perceive it, right? So it says in Christianity, for example, I shall come as a thief in the night. So everyone's waiting for like this person in white robes and with a halo and with like angels going, hallelujah, to come, right, here I come. But that's not it. It's completely missing the mark. I shall come as a thief in the night. When we get upset, when we are upset by anything and triggered into fear, anger and grief, that's the thief in the night. Because we're going along in our life like everything's groovy, right? I'm just feeling good and groovy and I'm actually asleep in my experience. I don't even realize it. And someone goes, bop, presses my button. That's the thief in the night. It wakes me up to something that I don't know is going on. But because I don't have insight, I perceive it as something out there happening to me, not something happening through me. And what's happening is the universe is bringing me something on the outside to show me what's going on the inside, because I don't have the insight to see it. So it has to show it to me on the outside, right? So the upset is the thief in the night. I'll come as a thief in the night, right? I don't come to bring peace. In the Gnostic Gospels it says, I don't come to bring peace to this world. Forget that. I come with sword, fire, war, to cleave father from son. I'm coming to mess everything up for you. I'm coming to destroy and dismantle everything around you, because none of it is true. All the structures around you have been built out of this emotional signature and maintain the emotional signature. And we go to sleep. We even say, when we connect with another human being, we go to sleep together. We sleep together. We don't go like, we wake up together. We sleep together, right? We don't be together. We're not about being together. We're going to do something together. It's all about doing. And at the altar we say, I do. Do you promise to do everything you're going to do? I do. Right? And from the moment we get married, that wonderful experience of being together is gone, because marriage is the entering of the doing. From the state of being to the doing. The structure of doing. Right? So the thief in the night comes to say, I'm going to destroy that structure. I'm going to awaken you to that structure. So let's look at it in a basic day-to-day thing, so we can see what it looks like. So let's say, I'll pick on you today, right? Let's say I come to work one morning and I'm late. And I'm always late at work because I'm always hurrying. You'll notice that people are late are always hurrying. If you remove hurrying, you'll stop being late. Doesn't make any sense, but try it out. So I'm always at work because I'm always at work like 15 minutes late because I'm always hurrying, right? I'm distracted. I can't just be here. I'm always like, right? So I come to work and I'm 15 minutes late, and I look into my boss's office just through the door, and he looks at me and he goes, And immediately I go, I walk to my office. And I immediately, absolutely predictably, start to tell a story. So a physical event happens, and I immediately jump to this place, and I start the story. Okay, so I'm 15 minutes late, but I don't deserve to be treated this way. I mean, I really do the work that I'm supposed to do. In fact, I do it well. So I don't deserve, okay? And what's happened, what I can't see, you see, it's very difficult to see things when we're hypnotized. And it's we've all gone to a show or seen a show on TV about, you know, how people get hypnotized. And once you're hypnotized and they say, that table is a teapot, you're going to treat it like a teapot. You're awake, your eyes are open, you're walking around, but the table is a teapot. And no one can tell you otherwise. And that's our regular human state. Whenever we get triggered, the table becomes a teapot. We can't see it otherwise. So what happens is, as I walk past the door, and he looks at me in a particular way, right? In that moment, what is not perceptible to me is in that moment, I step out of the moment and into a memory bank. I literally step into a memory. And in that memory, the table becomes a teapot. In other words, if I look at you and I see my father in any way, right? And I have an unintegrated stuff related to my childhood with my father, and I look at you and I see my father, you disappear. I no longer see you, right? That's what happens when we get married, right? First of all, we see each other and we love being together, and then we get married and then I see my mother and father. I can't help it. Because my definition of love, what attracted me to you initially, is the very definition given to me by my experience with my parents. So I can only marry my family. I can only marry my mother and father. It's impossible not to do it otherwise. We're hypnotized by it, right? So when I look at you and I see my father, or say I see my stepfather, for example, I no longer see you. I am now in a state of illusion. This is an illusion in front of me. And the moment I start behaving around you the way I behaved around my stepfather, now I'm in a state of delusion. I'm deluded, right? But to me, it looks real. And my perception appears valid. And I could stand up in a court of law and prove that I'm right in what I'm seeing and the way I'm seeing it. And the moment I get triggered, what I can't see is the moment I enter an upset, the very moment that I get triggered into anger or fear or grief, I enter an altered state. I enter an altered state. And what this work really about is becoming conscious whilst in an altered state. To be able to respond whilst in a mode of reaction. Our most powerful addiction is reactive behavior, right? So I step into the altered state, and in that altered state, I become mechanical. I become absolutely predictable. There's only two paths that are going to be taken, two possibilities. The one is going to be a mental, and the other one is going to be a physical outcome. There's going to be no emotional resolution. There's going to be release, but not resolution. The energy that is being triggered within me, which is this emotional signature, is now going to be spewed out into the world in some way. It's not going to be digested, right? And the way that it's kind of vomited out is, I'll first start to tell a story. I don't deserve this. Okay, I'm 15 minutes late, but that doesn't give him a right to look at me that way. I mean, who does he think I am, right? So I go into, now if I believe the story, if I tell the story long enough, I will hypnotize myself into some form of physical behavior. That's how powerful storytelling is, the art of magic, right? I will cast such a spell on myself that I will enter physical behavior, which may look like this. I've had enough. I'm not going to be treated like this anymore. Here's my resignation. See ya, right? And walk out. Now I feel better. Oh, I feel better. I showed him. Until the altered state passes. And I wake up maybe the next morning and I go, what the hell did I do? I like my job. I mean, what the hell did I do? I don't have a job. I don't have an income. And I'm definitely not going to get a good reference. Who is that mad character that acted out on my behalf like a possessed person? Like a possessed person. I was possessed, right? So the one type of behavior is going to be the physical behavior. The other behavior is I may just resort to purely mental behavior, right? I tell the story, and eventually I'll enter the mental behavior, which will look like this. We need to have a talk. The moment someone comes to you and says, we need to have a talk, be aware that you are dealing with someone who is completely deluded. Right? Do not join them in their delusion, because you too will then enter an altered state, and the two of you together will go through this spiral, downward spiral, that can only happen when two delusional people try to come to some point of righteousness, right? All I want to be is right and feel better, and if I can talk to you about it and you will listen and I feel better, I think something's happened, right? But actually, nothing happens, because both of those pathways are revolutionary behavior. They will always take me back to that point, because the next morning, say, even if I resign and I go to a new job and I get a new job, the next boss I have at some point, he will trigger me in exactly the same way. Nothing will have changed. Physical circumstances changed, but nothing actually changed. What didn't change is the feeling that's brought up. The triggering event may look completely different, but the feeling. If I don't resign, you can be sure when I come the next morning, I'm going to be hurrying again. Even though we had the talk and I feel better, I'm hurrying again, and I walk past the office and he looks at me in a strange way and I go, oh, man, when is he going to get it? How much do I have to talk to this guy until he gets it, right? So, in that revolutionary behavior, which is our addiction, that is the vampiric behavior, right? You know, once you're a vampire, once you're bitten, you're a vampire. Once we're imprinted with this perceptual condition, we behave accordingly. We're hypnotized. You can't tell someone in victim or victor, in a victim or victor state of consciousness, that they are responsible for their experience. It's insulting, right? I am not responsible for the problems in my life. I'm not responsible for the way he's behaving towards me. How is that possible? It's happening over there. It's him doing it. Your Honor, you can stand up in a court of law and say, he did it. And it would stand up in a court of law. Because all law upholds the rule of the mental body. So you can win in a court of law. I can sue him and get lots of money for the way he's behaving towards me. And actually prove in a court of law and have the judge goes, yes, your behavior really upset the person who works for you. And because you upset him so much, you need to pay him money. And I go, yeah, I'm being validated. I'm right. He had to pay me money for looking at me like that. Right? Because all law serves the mental body only. It serves the mental body. So, let's say now somebody gives me something like the presence process, or, because what the presence process does, it spends the first 6 weeks giving us a procedure, a means to start becoming conscious within an unconscious experience, and gradually revealing to us that whenever we get upset, we are entering a perceptual memory bank. And although the memory is reflected on the physical aspect of the behavior, and in the story that I tell myself. Neither the behavior nor the story are the memory. The memory that I'm entering is the emotional signature. So let's say I get really angry when he looks at me like that. The memory is the anger. But it's not even anger as a word, because we're like, it's the word anger, and anger means it's actually the felt experience underlying that word. The pure feeling. That's the memory. And only when I directly engage that memory without placing any condition upon it do I enter any form of resolution, right? There is a difference between release and resolution. Many of us have done emotional release work. Emotional release work looks like this. After this event, okay, now I'm doing my emotional release work, I go home and I have a pillow and I say, this is my boss. And if I get on a deeper level, no, this is my father. Right? And I feel better afterwards. I feel much better. And because I've released all that pent-up energy, I actually have some clarity. And I go, well, this works. But it doesn't resolve anything. Because that trigger point hasn't been touched. It's the same as a pressure cooker. If you keep taking the lid off the pot, it never cooks. It never gets to the point of pressure in which it can cook. The cooking point is the point of alchemy, is when that base metal turns to gold. Initially, when we become aware of our emotional condition, we will do release work because we can't contain it. Once I become aware how angry I am, really? Now I can't hide from me anymore. I can't hide it. I can't say it's because of him. I realize, because say I've read something like the presence process, I realize that whenever I look at him, I'm seeing something from my past, and it's making me angry. It's got nothing to do with him. Right? So I get it all intellectually, but it doesn't help. Right? Because even though I get that this is just a messenger bringing me something. You see, the way that this is brought to us is through great intelligence, which in the presence process we call presence, right? And if I had to remove the presence out of you, and 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 shuffle them up behind my back, and say, which one is yours, there'd only be one in my hand. There is only one presence. And we're all expressions of it. And because there's only one presence, the presence in you can cause you to behave, you have no idea, in a way that triggers your awareness of something within you that you have no insight about. So it can bring it to you on the outside. Because when we don't have insight, we're going to have to see things on the outside. So they're brought to us on the outside. So this is what I'm saying. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to run and hide. Nothing, because whatever is required, whenever we're required to see something about ourselves, the closest person around us will show us. Right? Especially those people we're either married to or our direct family, or the people, everyone wants to form a group to do work. Right? And what forming a group to do the work is, I'm going to get a group of people who all think and behave like me. That way I'm going to be safe. And that way I'll enter authenticity, right? But that group is all agreeing with you, all studying the same book, all, behaving in a similar way for a while, and then eventually the ego structure will enter the group and there will be as much chaos in that group as anywhere else, right? But initially everyone's going to be nice because we're all like in our study group, right? But actually that's not an authentic group. That group can never be authentic. It's usually created as a means to escape my authentic group. My authentic group today is all of you. When I get on the plane, my authentic group is the people sitting with me on the plane. When I'm walking through the airport, my authentic group is the people in the airport. When I go back to Princeton and I'm sitting in the coffee shop, my authentic group is the people in the coffee shop with me. That's my authentic group. If I cannot accomplish anything in that group, any group that I form is useless. In fact, most groups take me away from that, from the authentic group. Right? They lead me into creating experience. That's why we can go on a retreat, for example, for 7 days, right? Oh, and it's so groovy, right? We go, it's a beautiful place. There's wonderful food served for us. Everyone's going, namaste, namaste. Everyone's on their best behavior. And so I feel fantastic. I'm one, right? And then I go to work on Monday morning, and I look, I can't handle it. Can't handle the sound of the city, and these people are so annoying. That's your authentic group. That's what's really going on. That's where the rubber hits the road, right? So, the presence process, let's say, informs us that the memory is the emotional signature. But even when I realize that, initially it doesn't make a difference because of the power of the altered state. Remember, it is an altered state that we enter into when we go into a memory bank. This moment has disappeared, and I'm now somewhere else, perceptually, right? So even though I know it's got nothing to do with you, and I arrive at work in a hurry, and I look in and you go, like that, I'm still going to go, oh man, I just don't want to be treated like this. And I'd go on for about probably half an hour, like steaming, and suddenly, hang on a moment, I just got set up again. You only get it afterwards. You only regain consciousness after the fact, even though you knew. Because we haven't yet gathered enough presence to remain conscious within the altered state. Right? So that's the first level. The first level is I'm still going to be upset. I'm still going to go into a story. But probably before I catch the behavior, sometimes I'll still go to the behavior. I'll still go and have the talk. Hey, I want to talk to you. And while I'm having the talk, I suddenly realize, I'm just going to carry on with my job. Then the next phase of the level, once I've gathered enough presence, and the breathing does assist us to help presence. Presence is really about being in that situation. Can I be there? If I'm being there, then I'm present. If I'm trying to do something, I'm not. Right? So the next time when I gather some level of presence, I walk past the office, he triggers me, I go, and in mid-reaction, oh, that's a bit silly. Right? But I'm still feeling the anger, but I'm just now conscious about it. That's the next level. The next level is when I'm conscious enough to see it coming. I know I'm going to be in a hurry because nothing's changed yet. I haven't impacted the causal point. So I'm still in a hurry and frustrated, freaked out because what's happening is he's triggering a memory of my relationship that was implanted through my relationship with my stepfather. Which he was like, you're not doing well enough. And I was always started hurrying to try and do what was required for, all that stuff that's triggering that memory, which made me really angry. Like I wasn't seen and all that stuff, right? That's the causal point, that interaction. And that's what he's triggering, right? So now I'm starting to get that. On a level I've realized the physical aspect of it, which is that it's really got nothing to do with him. He's just reflecting it. I've now realized the mental, I'm gaining more presence. I've now realized the mental aspect. This has something to do with my stepfather. It's not even got to do with him. But I haven't yet reached any point of resolution. Right? And so, as I walk past the office, as I approach the office, and I'm still in a hurry because nothing has changed, I know he's going to look at me that way. And I know I'm going to get angry. I see it coming. I'm probably even more angry before I even get there now, right? Because the anger is now in my awareness. It doesn't have to be triggered by him. I just have to think about him, right? And I walk past, but this time, I walk past and I go, good morning, right? And I'm feeling angry, but I'm not going to go into the story. Nor am I going to engage the behavior. Now I'm at a point where I'm ready to start impacting the causal point. I've gained enough consciousness, gained enough awareness, enough presence to be in the experience as it is, right? So for the rest of the day, I may feel the anger. I don't want to sedate and control it. do my best not to tell the story. The problem with anger is the greatest storyteller in the world. Immaculate storyteller. Absolutely believable stories, right? I mean, anger took this whole country to war. Told such a good story, right? It's a powerful storyteller. So, stopping the story is just a feat. Right? The mental body goes, no, but it really is him. You know, because it really always happens when I say, it's got to be him, right? Whatever, right? So I feel the anger. I go through my day at work. It's pretty uncomfortable because I'm feeling angry. But I'm now learning compassion, you see, to be with this anger. And so I just allow it to be there, and I have a day that's it's challenging. It's challenging to work through the day with that awareness, but I don't sedate and control it. I do my work best as I can. So I go home that evening and I say, okay, let's take a look at this. Right, let's take a look at this. Now I can engage fully in alchemy, which I can only do by myself. This is why the group has no use. A group is useful in many other things. If you want to show people techniques and stuff like that, a group is very useful. But once we get to the work of alchemy, the group is of no use to us. No other human being is of any use. Where we require someone to be there while we do it is where we do not grow. Where we require someone to be there while we enter alchemy is where we will not grow, right? Until we take full responsibility and be with it, right? So let's say I go home, do what I got to do when I get home, and then I go, okay, and then be with myself for a while. And I go and sit down. Now I'm going to use the physical and mental. Now I'm going to make this journey, right? So I bring up the physical image of walking past my boss's office. Just bring it into focus. And as I do, I tell the story. Well, I walk past his office, and he looks at me in a insulting way, right? And I start to feel angry. And the moment I go into that story, that anger is going to return into my awareness. Now the story, the mental and the physical, have completed their task. They have no more role. They have no more role. Let them go. They can't help me from this point. They've done their work. Now I feel that feeling of anger, and I can just ask myself, if I really want to tune into it, where do I feel this in my body? It's going to be somewhere around. Sometimes there are some people that don't feel it in their body, but they just feel it. And so, okay, where do I feel it? Where am I? And then I'm going to be with it. It's that image of the Madonna and the child. I'm going to cradle it. I'm not going to try and change it. I'm not going to try and understand it. I'm not going to try and channel it through my chakras. I'm not going to turn it into light. I'm not going to be concerned about what is the point of doing this. I'm just going to be with it, allow it to be. And what's happening in that moment, I'm going to bring the resonance of my being unconditional upon it, right? Alchemy, the radiance of alchemy is of a different sun. There's two suns, right? And there's one sun, and that's this sun that shines in the outer world. And presently, the sun that shines on the outer world shines upon all our doings. It shines upon the doer. And everything the sun shines upon is going to disappear. It is impermanent. It has a beginning and an ending, right? That's the one radiance. And that sun has beams, sunbeams, right? There is another sun, right? When I cradle this feeling which I spell anger, and I be with it, I bring the radiance of being upon it. And that radiance comes from a different sun. You can think of it as an internal sun. And that sun is the source of everything, and is able to bring us what we require. Not what we need and want. It's not interested in what we need and want. Because what we need and want, what an addict needs, is more drugs. Why would, if we could have what we wanted, we would just get more drugs. Whatever it takes to drug us back to sleep. Feeling better is being asleep. Right? Feeling better is in the state where I feel better now. If I go in and I shout at him and I give him my resignation, I walk out like, I've done it. I feel better. I'm actually now completely asleep. Right? I've completely gone unconscious. So that's not what the radiance of being brings to us. It doesn't bring us what we need and want. It brings us what we require to restore resolution at the causal point. We don't know what that is. So we can't recognize it. So we can't navigate towards it. We can't know. So it's about completely being unconditional. I'm just going to be with this. Right? When I'm able to be with this in a way that there is no conditions placed upon it, this energy will be free to move. Because being without condition allows freedom. And that energy knows what to do. It has its own intelligence. It will go through an organic unfolding to a point of resolution. Each of us will have our own experience of what that's like. For some it may be a feeling of heat moving over the body, and for others may go to tears. Others may get visual images about things that happened. Bump, bump, right? But once it comes to a point of completion, you will know you've achieved resolution because you will have gone through a state that will lead you to a state of peace. Right? And on the way there will be what's called the death experience. Because this memory that's being carried, that is impacting my behavior to such a point that I can't see you and I can't behave authentically around you, all of that must die because it's not true. It has nothing to do with this moment. I have to die to that, right? It's a death. And I am going to go through the death experience. And if I do my work on this planet right now, I will die daily, right? I won't try and leave the death to the end of this experience so that when I get to the end of this particular experience, I go into complete disease, decrepit, decay, dementia, because I've left it all to the end. I didn't do any dying. In fact, I went against death completely. I just want to feel good. I don't want to feel what's going on, right? I've sedated and controlled the death experience out of... Well, the way we are is we're like a tree that it comes to autumn and the leaves start falling off and we go, hey, stop it. Get some tape the leaves on, right? Glue, maybe glue the leaves on, right? Something terrible. We don't want any death experience. When we contain this anger or this feeling and sit with it without condition, it goes through its own unfolding. And part of that unfolding is we are going to die to it, to the illusion that it has been upholding. We're going to die to that illusion. And you will know that you're entering the death experience because when you're sitting with it, if you really watch your mental body will start saying, I can't do this anymore. This doesn't work. Right? There's no hope. My life has never worked. It's all over. I might as well just die. There is no God. Right? There's no point to anything. Right? And once we go into that thought process, then we're entering the death experience. We just don't want to entertain the story, just be, because the mental body is going to freak out. Because its reign as God is now being dismantled. Right? It doesn't know what's going on. It's like, I'm out of control. Right? I don't know what's going on. Sure, I'm end being sure. Surrender. Right? We just surrender to this. And it will go through its process. And for some people, we'll go to tears. There'll be an emotional experience. For others, it'll just be purely energetic. It doesn't matter what it is. Whatever it is valid. And as we reach resolution, you will know. You won't understand. You will know something has shifted internally, energetically, because you will feel a sense of peace, right? You'll feel a sense of peace. But how you will know, absolutely, is that internal experience of being there by yourself will impact your 3D. the internal movement of the energy, now it's been set free and able to move to resolution, will be mirrored upon the outer. It'll be mirrored upon the outer. In a way that you know you had nothing to do with making that happen. Right? So for example, you've moved through the completion and you get up in the morning and you don't even realize it, but you just feel differently about things. And there's nothing that charge that used to chase you around. You see, the whole thing is the emotional signature is a charge. And we're either in charge or driven by a charge. And for most of us, before we enter alchemy, we're driven by a charge. And if you're around someone long enough, you can see the charge that drives them, right? And the consequences of it, the sedation, the controlled behavior related to that charge. What we're doing with alchemy is we're turning around and we're facing the charge that has always been driving us. And we're allowing ourselves to enter into the charge. If you want to be in charge, then be in the charge, right? Be in the charge, without condition. Once we enter that charge, there's going to be a shift, right? And so, in this example, I'll wake up in the morning, for example, and just feel pretty calm this morning. I go around and I'm relaxed and I have my breakfast. I just go to work and I'm just enjoying my day, and I arrive at work on time. I didn't try, I wasn't hurrying, I wasn't trying to do anything, right? There was no charge driving me. And I kind of walk into work and I look in the office and suddenly I see you. For the first time, I actually see you. I don't really see my stepfather, right? And because I've become more intimate with myself, this is the first level of intimacy. Because I've become more intimate with myself, I'm able to be more intimate with you. Suddenly you're not this figure, this power figure that I've been creating all my life out of this memory, right? And so I kind of stop and I go, hey, how's it going? Right? And you go, oh, it's going pretty good. And we kind of chat, right? And then because I'm open to you, you become more open to me. And I go, so what's been going on? And you go, I've got this problem. Oh, what's going on? I'm really constipated all the time. And because I know about my constipation, right? I go, you know what constipation means? Can't stop hating. Can't stop hating. I have so much anger in my system, so much that it dries out my stomach lining, and I can't deal with my shit. Right? So I will see that our way of relating with each other is completely transformed. And I didn't come and do anything to you. I didn't make anything happen. I didn't go into doing to accomplish it. I went into a state of being to accomplish it. And this is really what I require. This connection that we have is what I require at work. It's not what I need and want, it's what I require. This shift in my life, right? So then the thing is, I have to consistently give myself an opportunity to see that. I have to consistently demonstrate, set the demon straight, I have to consistently demonstrate to myself that my mental body and all its stories and all the doings that it drives me into that will stand up even in a court of law as being valid, take me nowhere. I'm not a human doing, I'm a human being. It's when I access my state of being that I'm going to accomplish resolution in myself, right? And then I've realized alchemy, right? And once I start to look at the world through those eyes, I will start to see a different world. You see, the eyes of the being and the eyes of the doer see two different worlds. Completely different. Just as the hypnotized person sees a teapot and the awake person sees a table. But you can't say to the hypnotized person, it's not a teapot. They'll go, it is. I'm having tea right now. Right? That he really is responsible for my anger. He's to blame. I need to interact with him to take care of it, right? So that's the first step in the intimacy journey. And that's really going on around here. That's the first step, where we start to look at our physical circumstances as a means to gain insight. Our upsets every day, right? Every time we get upset about anything, and there is no exception to this rule, because I've tried to find the clause that says, in this particular instance, it's an exception. He is to blame, right? I've looked for that clause, right? But there is no clause. Whenever we are upset, whenever we are remembering, we are entering a memory bank, and we are being given an opportunity to awaken from that illusion, right? The thing is, that upset is what we require. It is our nutrition to enliven our being. If we digest that nutrition, if we are able to receive it, because everything that we require is given, but are we able to receive it? The thing is, what we require isn't what we need and want. We have to remember that. To have my boss snarl at me in the morning is not what I need and want. What I need and want is for him to tell me what a wonderful guy I am, and how wonderful I am, and how good my work is, right? And that I'm needed and wanted and loved and cherished, right? And that's very important. That's what I need and want. But what I require, that's not what I require, right? So we couldn't even recognize what we require. So the first thing to help us to realize what we require is to identify the moment of upset as the gift, and to start gathering enough presence so that we can remain conscious enough in that moment and enter the work of alchemy, so that we can consistently begin demonstrating to the mental body that it is not God, that there is nothing that it can do, that its stories are all untrue, and that it must surrender, right? It must surrender to the emotional work. That my feelings in any given moment are valid. They're absolutely valid. If I'm angry, it's valid. It's just whether I react to that by vomiting it out in the world and blaming someone else, or I respond to it by being with it without condition. That's what differentiates evolution from revolution, right? So let's take ourselves a 15 to 20 minute break here, all right?